I am getting into an awesome routine with these audios. So that's good. It's time. It's time to talk about my youngest and his birth. So, in case you're listening to these audios in order, we have talked about Brevin, we have talked about my oldest, and now we will talk about my youngest. Quick reminder Brevin had an excruciating labor process. My oldest had 26 hours of labor, and my youngest had under 2 hours. I say an hour, but obviously there was a couple minutes of being unsure, if you get what I'm saying, but not in the way I expected. So, obviously my youngest comes after a miscarriage. We established that. And we established the mental that I was in. What I was not aware of at that time, when I got pregnant so quickly after a miscarriage, was that pregnancy would not be the same as the other two. With my oldest, I had no issues during pregnancy. Once I gave birth, I had issues with postpartum depression. I got on meds, I got off meds, and I just said I'll just deal with it. Then I had a miscarriage. Then I got pregnant again. Then I dealt with 9 months of we never figured it out. Some say that it probably was he was on a nerve that got released once I gave birth. I mean, there's all kinds of blood sugar. There's all kinds of what ifs that people will offer. Point is, all I know is one day I was okay, and one day I was in a wheelchair being wheeled around because every time I stood up, I would pass out. Not just like, ooh, I feel a little faint. No, I would drop. And it only took a couple passing out episodes before I decided I didn't want to do that. Especially when you ride the bus. So, I got a wheelchair, and Kevin pushed me around in the wheelchair because we went to church, and we volunteered at church, and I wasn't gonna miss church. So he wheeled me to church. And I asked for help fixing the problem. I mean, obviously I was scared. What's wrong with me? Why am I paralyzed? It's one thing to be on bed rest, but this was a different kind of bed rest than I was expecting. And it it was hard. And then so I dealt with that. And the key component of that is that while I'm dealing with this, I'm being honest with the doctors. Like, I don't know what's happening. You saw me get wheeled in here. Like, help. And nobody could come up with anything. They said, you're perfectly healthy. Your baby's perfectly healthy. We don't know. I remember towards the end of my pregnancy, I couldn't feel him for too long. I don't remember how long I let it go, but it doesn't matter. I for a moment couldn't feel my baby move. So I went to an ER that was near us. Now, I still didn't live any closer to the old hospital that my oldest was born at, but there was a new one closer to us, much closer. So I went there, and basically, baby was fine. Doctor, however, was suspicious that I was on drugs. Why? Because I couldn't walk. I know. Trust me. I get it. That was it. That was the sin. Apparently, it was noted in my file. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't even think about that, but it makes sense now. Well, they couldn't figure it out, but the thing was he said, if I were to urine test you right now, would you pass? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. He didn't. I went home. Everything was fine. Then we got to my son's birth month, and sorry. My words are getting choppy. I'm gonna warn you. This is the first audio. Warning. You're in it. I don't even know what warning to give you. This is where I just speak and you get whatever pieces I can give you. And then I guess she'll worry about it later. I hoped that my baby would be born on a certain day. And he wasn't, because he's him and he's stubborn. And also, it's his life. He showed up when he wanted to. But he showed up later than expected. But not later as in his due date, just later than his mom's planning. But I remember sitting on the couch, and we had one of those. We had a normal couch, but then there was an extra, I think it was called a chase, and it was glorious to be in, pregnant, horrible to get out of at any point. But later on, me and my youngest would spend a lot of our time in that chair, because it, as far as co-sleeping, was probably not safe. As far as sleep being a huge trigger for my mental illness, having a newborn, we spent a lot of time in that chair because I knew that my baby would be safe, but I could only get up so many times, and I struggled with postpartum rage, but even, thankfully, even back then, I was able to see it, because I dealt with the meltdowns from the autism for all those years. I kind of knew how to take care of it. So I was sitting in that chair, and my oldest he was a toddler, and so he was running around, and all of a sudden I just got like a cramp, just the first cramp, and I was like, ooh, that hurts. Now I hadn't had really anything other than maybe like some off and on, like, ooh, that's a little cramp, but like it never went to the second one to become anything. Well, this was like, then I got a second one, and I was like, oof. And this is where it gets a little choppy time-wise, whether it's 1 hour or 2 hour, because it's like 1.5 hours, this like in between of like, ooh. And so the plan was, the plan. The plan was, I would walk around Walmart. Okay. At the time, Kevin worked at Walmart. So I would walk around Walmart while Kevin finished up his shift. Okay. I still didn't have a car, so I needed a car. Well, there was a huge thing when I got pregnant again, even with Brevin. When I got pregnant again, there was this huge thing of my mother being unable to be there at the birth because she'd have to be watching the other grandkid that was older. So this wasn't an issue. I fixed it because I asked a friend from church to watch my oldest for the night. And she said yes. And she was actually the one who got me into the psych ward. So she was a blessing. And so I told my mother that I had a plan of walking around Walmart, and then we would all head to the hospital and all that. Well, by the time my mother and this woman had shown up. They showed up much at the same time. Well, no. The friend showed up first and was packing my son up when my mother showed up. So then I was bent over the couch because I was in so much pain. Like, it was coming quickly, and I wasn't expecting that because I was used to 26 hours of labor. I thought I at least had an entire bus ride, you know? But this time I was in a car. Well, they started talking, and you know when you're in a rush and somebody's talking to somebody else and it's like, can you hurry up? I severely felt that, but was unable to word it because of the pain I was in. So I just bent over. Like, I was just sitting there. Eventually, they stopped talking. The friend left with my son. And then my mother walked in and laughed and said, well, I guess we're not walking around Walmart, huh? And so then she got me in the car. And by the time I was in the car, I was like, oh man, this isn't good, you know? Like, this is where it's like, oh, can I have the epidural? And I was like, wait, this is way too early to be at the I need an epidural part. And so we're driving, and she says, I'm like, I feel like I gotta push. And it's like that, from my point of view, like that's way too quick moving, you know? But it was happening. And so my mom looks over at me and goes, your water better not break in my new car. And so, or my nice car or something like that. It was either new or nice. The word doesn't matter right now. Don't mess up my vehicle. That's the point. And I heard it clearly. So, on our car, we call my husband, and he's like, okay, because he's expecting a long labor. And I told him, I'm going to walk around Walmart and shop and all that. Yeah, no, plans are changing, bud. Let's go. She said, she even was like, should we just should he just take a bus to the hospital later and I'll just take you to the hospital? And it's like, that right there I struggle with. Obviously, I'm not, commenting, I'm just mentioning stuff, but this one specifically, like, yet again, I mean, look at that from Kevin's point of view. Not to just, I'm gonna say that, like, me right now, I'm gonna say that. That's a horrible way to miss the birth of your child. And keep in mind, this wouldn't be him purposely, like, this isn't, but just take my word for it, it would have looked that way. It would have made him appear, given everybody involved in the timeline, it would have made him look horrible. He would have missed the birth of his youngest child, his rainbow baby, because the bus didn't get him to the hospital in time, because the bus wouldn't have gotten him to the hospital, because we barely made it to the hospital. And I know that because when we did pick him up, because I said, we're gonna pick him up. Like, I'm thinking, if I have this baby in the car, then I'll pay for your cleaning deposit, but I'm not, I need him. Keep that in mind. In that moment, I'm thinking, I need him. So we get there, and I'm like, go get me that wheelchair. I'm not even gonna, oh. And so Kevin puts his arm around me, and he helps carry me. And so they get me. And so the vibe as we get in there is they're like, okay, we got some time with this one. And I'm like, no, I feel like I'm gonna push. And they're like, you do not feel like you have to push. And there's this whole thing with insurance of, like, you're supposed to be at the original one. You're supposed to be at that one. And I was like, well, we're not gonna make it. So I'll cut out the triage details. But basically, they get me in triage, and I'm saying, this baby's coming. And they're saying, you've got some time. And then I go, so they're checking me, and I'm like, hey, when can I get that epidural? This hurts bad. And then they look up and go, there is no epidural. We need to get you in a room now. They then start running down the hall with me, which of course changes things real quick. They start rushing me down the hall, and I'm trying to keep eyes on Kevin, and I can't because it hurts bad. This hurts real bad. I'm starting to panic. All of the past two births start going through my mind at the exact same time somehow, while also seeing the lights flash above me. And all I'm trying to do is look in this endless, it feels endless, sea of people and find the one person I want. And I can't find him because he's blocked by my mother and the doctor and the nurse and everybody else but. So they get me in the room, and everything becomes very chaotic and foggy in my memory. So all I know is eventually my mother is laying over the top of me with like her arms draped across my face, and she's almost like, I don't know. I don't know if she was hugging me, reaching for something. I honestly don't know. I don't remember. I just know that when she reached across me, I bit her. And in that moment, I honestly, like, I didn't do it on purpose. I just lunged forward and bit. The fact that I didn't do it on purpose, I didn't do it intentionally, that it was that much of a reaction, you know? I don't know, I've always thought about that. Like, ugh, I always think about that. And of course she made fun of me for it. She told everybody, even years later, she told everybody that I had bit her. And it's funny because, like, when she would say I bit her, I can remember all I wanting in that moment was her to just step aside and Kevin walk up. I wanted Kevin's arms around me, and I wanted to feel safe because I did not feel safe right then, you know? And not because of her, but because of the room, the vibe, the moment that I hear and they think I don't hear. But that we need to get him out. And we have to cut you. I'm sorry, what? Let's go back to the previous audio. I'm not usually one to tie our audios together, but let's link the three. If you haven't heard the other two, listen to the other two for this to make sense. I already had established trauma before I ever got pregnant regarding certain areas of my body. I then gave birth, had a miscarriage, and was now giving birth without an epidural. Keep in mind, a couple hours ago, 2 hours ago, my stomach didn't hurt. That's how quick, okay? All of a sudden, that very vital piece is being cut. While having a catheter. While Kevin is still basically in the corner of the room. Not by choice. He's been shoved for the emergency and for my mother who's by my head. I then hear he's purple. And then I hear him cry. And then he's put on me. And I hear he looks just like us. He looks just like me. It was my mother. And I looked down and thought, well, at least he doesn't look as angry as his brother did. It's, I will never show you those photos, but if you saw those photos, you would agree. He looked very mad for everything that he is now. He looked really angry. But my youngest, she was right. He did look like me. But he also just looked like a rainbow baby. He, sorry, if you heard me gasp, it's because something just knocked on the window behind me. This isn't even part, I'm not even trying to, that genuinely happened. That sounds really spooky if you don't know where I am. It's like medium spooky. I guess I'm gonna, it's, it's medium spooky. Okay, okay. Um, I remember after Kevin got me, it was like, oh gosh, what did he get me? He got me a lot of snacks. I had much better snacks after with my youngest. I know I got a Snickers. I'm sure I got a Pepsi. Yeah, I got all kinds. I probably got Doritos, Hot Cheetos, I don't know. I just remember being like, I am famished. And him going and getting it. And that one was a lot of fun because he stayed with me. She might have stayed like later on, and it might have been the same thing. He went home, but I just remember him staying. I don't know. I just remember him being more there. Like, more so, I remember her leaving earlier. I guess that's how I would say that. He was there more, but obviously years had passed, and we were more just us. We were less. She she did a lot of stuff for me leading up to that. Um, and so by that point, I think I had been able to do more on my own. And so I kind of ran with it. And so by that point, it was more of she helped in the hospital, but then it was kind of like once we were home, she had people to see. But I remember leaving the hospital and them telling me that the doctor had suggested I not be sent home with Tylenol due to being an addict. No, I was not, I hadn't had postpartum depression psych meds yet. Well, other than, the one I got off of, but I'll finish that later. Sorry. I I have something to do. Bye.